Welcome, seeker of truth. If you're reading this, it's not by accident. Something deeper has called you here. You may have felt it, a strange pull in your chest, a quiet question that kept returning to your mind, whispering, there must be more than this. And now here you are, standing at the edge of ancient knowledge, one that has existed longer than the world as we know it, hidden in silence, wrapped in symbols, passed not through books or sermons, but through moments. Moments like this. Let me tell you a story. Not one you'll find in school books or in the archives of history, but one that breathes between the lines of reality. It is the story of the unseen order behind all things, a wisdom so old and sacred that it chose to stay hidden until the soul was mature enough to hear it. And that moment, your moment, has now arrived. There was once a man, or perhaps more accurately, a consciousness. He was called Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great master of wisdom, of power, and of divine love. But he wasn't merely a man. He was the union of Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, and Hermes, the messenger of the Greek gods. Together, they formed a bridge, a golden path between the visible and the invisible, between the human and the divine. The teachings of Hermes were not for the masses. They weren't shouted in the streets or written in public scrolls. They were whispered in darkened temples under the stars into the ears of those who dared to question the world. And for thousands of years, these teachings survived, hidden, protected, sealed, not out of pride, but out of mercy, because knowledge, like fire, can both warm and destroy. And not every hand is ready to hold the flame. Among these teachings lies a book, a small, silent book called the Cabalon. First published in 1908 by 3 anonymous initiates, it's not a book you read, it's a book that reads you. Some say it only appears when the soul is ready. Others say it finds you when your questions become too heavy for the surface world to answer. Either way, it is not just a book, it is a doorway. And when you open it, not just with your eyes, but with your presence, it begins to whisper truths that shake the foundation of how we see reality. It tells you that the universe is not made of matter, not of particles or atoms, not of objects and things. It tells you that the universe is made of mind, that everything you see, everything you touch, everything you are, is a thought, a vibration, a dream within a greater dream. This is called the principle of mentalism, the first law of Hermetic philosophy. The all is mind, the universe is mental. It is not just a metaphor, it is a structure. It means that reality is not happening to you, it is happening through you. And everything you believe, everything you feel, every thought you entertain is a thread in the great web that shapes your world. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what if this is true? What if every moment of your life, from the pain of childhood to the joy of love, from every coincidence to every heartbreak, was not random? What if it was all part of a greater intelligence? Not one that controls you, but one that mirrors you, one that responds to your inner world like a living reflection. When you begin to see life this way, something ancient awakens. You remember that you are not powerless, that you are not broken, that you are not here to suffer without meaning. You begin to feel something long forgotten, responsibility, yes, but also wonder. The wonder of knowing that your thoughts are not insignificant, that your emotions are not empty waves, that the way you speak to yourself, the way you dream at night, the way you fear, the way you love, all of it creates reality. And this, dear seeker, is only the beginning. And so you begin to awaken, not in the eyes, but in the soul. The world doesn't look different, but somehow you do. Because when you realize that the universe responds to your inner state, life stops feeling like a test and starts becoming a mirror. And this mirror doesn't judge, it reflects, it reveals, it invites. This brings us to the second principle, the law of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. It is not poetry, it is architecture. What happens in the vast galaxies mirrors what happens in the atoms of your body. The movement of the moon affects the tides and your emotions. The chaos outside your window often reflects the noise within your mind. When you look at the world through this law, everything becomes a clue, a cipher waiting to be decoded. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how people you attract into your life tend to reflect your own inner beliefs? How the same patterns keep appearing, different faces, same stories? That's not a glitch in the system. That is the system. Life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. Your relationships reflect your sense of self-worth. Your finances mirror your beliefs about abundance. Your health echoes the stories you carry in silence. When you shift your inner world, the outer one bends with it. Not instantly, but undeniably. And this leads us to the third principle, the law of vibration. It is the pulse of the universe. It says, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Look around you. What seems still is not. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're reading this from, even your body, they are all fields of vibrating energy. Science confirms it. Spirituality understood it long before. Every thought, every feeling, every word you speak, each carries a frequency. And that frequency is like a radio station. When you vibrate at fear, you tune into realities that match fear. When you vibrate at joy, you begin to attract joy. You don't force life to obey you. You align with the life already vibrating at that level. That is why two people can walk through the same world but live entirely different experiences, because their frequencies are tuned to different stations. Now imagine this. Your thoughts are not private. They are broadcasts. You are a living transmitter. The energy you hold inside is speaking louder than your words ever could. That's why someone can enter a room and light it up without saying a thing. That's why others can drain the energy from a space by simply being there. Vibration is not about pretending to be happy. It's about embodying a frequency that is truthful, present, and aligned. You cannot fake vibration. The universe reads your signal, not your sentence. And when you understand vibration, you begin to reclaim your power, because it means you are never truly stuck. You are just vibrating at the level of your current reality. And that can change. You can choose different thoughts, different words, different rituals. You can shift your entire field with one breath, one moment of awareness, one act of honesty. But here's the part most people miss. Just as you learn to feel your own vibration, you also learn to move through the emotional spectrum. And this is where the fourth principle reveals itself, the law of polarity. It teaches that everything is dual, up and down, light and dark, joy and sorrow, birth and death. They are not enemies, they are siblings. They exist on the same line, just at different ends. Love and fear are not separate forces. They are points on the same emotional scale. The difference lies in degree, not kind. Which means, listen closely, you don't need to destroy one to reach the other. You just need to shift your position. Anger can be transformed into courage, grief into depth, fear into clarity. You don't eliminate the shadow, you raise it toward the light. This is inner alchemy. The ancient art of transmutation, not of metals but of emotions, thoughts, states of being. The Hermetic masters didn't seek to escape suffering. They learned to ride it, reshape it, and rise from it. They knew that every experience, no matter how painful, could be a doorway. Every darkness, an invitation to light. Polarity doesn't ask you to choose only joy. It asks you to recognize that your sorrow is not your enemy, but your teacher. That within the cold lies the potential for warmth. That within confusion waits wisdom. That every low contains the seed of a higher rise. You begin to see it, don't you? Life is not here to punish you. It's here to refine you, to shape you, to show you who you truly are. Not by giving you comfort, but by inviting you to choose awareness even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And when you choose awareness, the universe responds. By now, the path is becoming clearer. You no longer see your emotions as flaws or your struggles as failures. You begin to sense the rhythm beneath everything, the invisible tide that pulls your life forward and back like a cosmic breath. This is the law of rhythm, the fifth Hermetic principle, and once you see it, everything begins to make sense. The ancients taught that all things move in cycles. Just as the sun rises and sets, just as the seasons change, so too does your inner world ebb and flow. Joy rises, joy fades, confidence blooms, confidence wilts, and this is not a mistake. It is law. Every up has its down, every expansion, its contraction. Every wave must crest before it falls, and in that falling there is wisdom, there is space, there is renewal. You see, we were taught to fear the lows, to believe that sadness means regression, that doubt means weakness, that exhaustion means failure. But the truth is far more elegant. Every descent is part of the dance. The wise do not resist the low tide. They prepare for it. They honor it, because they know that the soul, like the sea, must retreat to gather strength. Think of nature. Trees shed their leaves not because they are dying, but because they are conserving life. The moon disappears not because it is gone, but because it is renewing itself in shadow. And so too, when your light seems dim, it may be that something inside you is being called inward. Not to vanish, but to root. Not to end, but to deepen. That's what rhythm is. It's the music of existence. And once you learn the beat, you no longer panic when the melody changes. You move with it. You trust the pauses. You dance with both the silence and the sound. And then comes the sixth principle, the law of cause and effect. One of the most profound and yet the most simple truths. It says nothing happens by chance. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. It means that every thought you think, every word you say, every action you take, no matter how small, plants a seed, and that seed becomes a field, and that field becomes your life. There is no randomness in this universe, only patterns, only echoes, only responses. You are the author of what happens around you, even when you forget you're holding the pen. Let that sink in. You are creating your life, even now, even in this very moment. This law does not come to punish. It comes to empower. It does not blame, it reveals. It is not about guilt, it is about awakening. Imagine you throw a stone into a lake. The ripples will spread. Not because the lake is angry, but because it is alive. Your actions, your thoughts, your energy all ripple outward, not as judgment, but as rhythm, as response, as law. And here's the part that many people miss. Unconscious creation is still creation. The universe does not wait for you to become aware before it responds. It responds now always to your frequency. So if you're sending out confusion, fear, resentment, even unintentionally, you will still receive their reflections. Not as punishment, but as a reminder. A call to become conscious, to remember, you are not just part of the universe, you are a participant in its creation. So ask yourself, what am I planting? What am I repeating? What ripples am I sending? Because life is not happening to you, it is happening from you. This truth can feel overwhelming at first. It may challenge everything you've believed, but in time it becomes liberating. Because once you know that you are the cause, you also realize you can choose new effects. You can begin again. You can plant something different. And from that seed, a new world will grow. And that, dear traveler, is how destiny becomes decision. Now, the final thread of the hermetic fabric begins to reveal itself, the law of gender. But don't be misled by the word. This isn't about biology or identity or culture. This is about energy, creation, the sacred dance of opposites. The ancients knew that everything in the universe contains both masculine and feminine forces, not as contradictions, but as complements, as partners. Every breath you take carries both energies. The inhale, receptive, inward, still, is the feminine. The exhale, active, outward, expressive, is the masculine. Together they create the rhythm of life. Within you, these forces are alive. The masculine within you is your clarity, your decision-making, your action, your focus. The feminine is your intuition, your inner knowing, your ability to receive, to surrender, to create from feeling. When these energies are balanced, your life moves like a river, strong yet fluid, clear yet adaptable. But when they are blocked, when you do without feeling or feel without doing, you become fragmented, torn, uncentered. This law reminds us, creation is not a one-way force. An idea must be conceived, feminine, then acted upon, masculine. A vision must be received, then expressed. The sacred lives not in domination, but in union. The seed and the soil, the spark and the womb, the light and the mystery, together. And when you begin to live with that inner harmony, something astonishing happens. You awaken as an initiate. Not someone who has mastered everything. Not someone who has no fear, no doubt, no flaw, but someone who has begun to live differently. Someone who no longer fights the universe, but listens to it. Someone who responds instead of reacts, who seeks truth instead of comfort, who understands that control is not power, alignment is. You begin to see every challenge as a teaching, every person as a mirror, every cycle as part of a greater dance. You realize that the universe is not chaotic, it is poetic, not random, but rhythmic, not against you, but responding to you. The initiate doesn't shout wisdom, they embody it. They don't preach, they live. They understand the 7 laws are not commandments, they're symphonies. And they move with them, like a dancer with the wind. They don't need to escape the world, they bring depth into it. They don't seek perfection, they seek presence. And here's the secret. When you live like this, even imperfectly, the universe begins to respond in real time. You speak, and the signs appear. You think, and synchronicity follows. You pause, and insight floods in. Life stops being a struggle and becomes a whisper, a collaboration, a co-creation. Not always easy, but always meaningful. Because now you are no longer lost. You are no longer waiting for a sign. You have become one. You've now walked through the 7 gates. One by one, the laws have unfolded before you like stars in a night sky, each shining its own light, each holding its own secret. But here is the deeper mystery. The laws are not separate. They are not scattered scrolls lying in different corners of the universe. They are threads, and you are the loom. Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, gender. Each of these principles is alive inside you, not just as concepts, but as mechanics of your very being. They are the cosmic code, yes, but they are also the heartbeat of your thoughts, the movement of your emotions, the structure behind your intuition. You are not just a student of these truths, you are their expression. And just like a harp with 7 strings, you are meant to play them in harmony. You see, when you apply one law without the others, it's like playing a single note again and again. You may be correct, but the music will never bloom. But when you understand the interplay, when you move from law to law, like a dancer shifting weight, like a mystic weaving light, then life begins to sing. Reality reshapes, everything flows. So what does this look like in your everyday life? It begins with awareness. When you wake up, how do you speak to yourself? What is the quality of your first thought? Is it drenched in worry, or does it carry a note of gratitude? That's mentalism in action. The moment you observe your thought, you've already shifted the code. Then, as you move through your day, start to notice the reflections. A difficult person shows up. Pause. Ask, what inside me is being mirrored? That's correspondence. You're not blaming yourself. You're decoding the message. You're stepping into the deeper conversation life is trying to have with you. You feel heavy, drained, scattered. That's a vibration. You don't need to fix it. You need to feel it, then raise it. Take a breath, walk in nature, sing, speak truth, hug someone and mean it. That's the law of vibration, shifting from density to flow. You fall into old patterns, fear returns, anger erupts. That's polarity reminding you. You are not stuck, you are on a scale. Move, shift, feel the rise, reframe the story. You hit a low, a quiet, a pause. That's rhythm. Honor it, rest, journal, pray. Don't resist the tide, ride it with grace. It's part of the return. You notice repeated challenges, patterns looping again. That's cause and effect speaking, not to shame you, but to free you. Ask yourself, what seed am I still watering? Then stop, plant something else. And when you feel torn between doing and being, between pushing and receiving, remember gender, the dance. Ask, am I moving with force or with balance? Then soften or strengthen as needed. There is no wrong step, only rhythm out of tune. You begin to see, don't you? The laws are not rules, they're rhythms, movements, possibilities. They're not here to bind you, they're here to tune you. And when you're tuned, even the mundane becomes magical. Conversations become synchronicities, delays become alignments, chance becomes guidance. Life stops being random, it becomes a ceremony, and you become a priest of it. What happens when knowledge becomes embodiment? What happens when you no longer remember the laws, but live them? The world begins to feel different, not because it has changed, but because your perception has. You're no longer swimming against the current, you are flowing with the river of life, eyes open, heart awake. And here's the great paradox. The more aligned you become, the less effort is needed. You don't push the path, you walk with it. You see signs, patterns, whispers, and you listen, not with the ears, but with your inner silence. That's when life starts to feel like a conversation, a sacred one. You speak, and the wind answers. You pause, and clarity arrives. You feel a pull inside, and the next step reveals itself. This is what it means to live as a conscious creator. Not a magician casting spells, not someone detached from the world, but someone rooted in presence. Someone who sees even the most ordinary moment, making tea, folding laundry, looking at the sky as a portal to presence, to alignment, to the divine. You no longer need the universe to scream. You've learned to hear its whispers. You realize that creation doesn't start when you do something great. It starts when you do something real, something intentional, with your whole being. And this is the deepest secret. The laws are not only spiritual truths, they are tools for embodiment. Each breath is an act of mentalism. You shape your world through thought. Each reaction is a mirror of correspondence. What is inside is outside. Each shift in feeling is vibration made visible. Each choice is polarity playing out. Do you contract or do you expand? Each season of your life is rhythm unfolding. Each echo of your past is cause and effect singing back. Each creative impulse, each idea, desire, intuition is gender expressing itself in form. And so every moment becomes sacred. Not because it is rare, but because you are aware. That is the true awakening. Not the moment when angels sing or stars align, but the quiet, unstoppable realization that you are always co-creating reality. Even now, right now. And maybe, just maybe, the universe doesn't want you to be perfect. It wants you to be present. Because presence is what makes your vibration clean. Presence is what gives your choices power. Presence is what allows the laws to move through you like music moves through a flute, not forced, but flowing. And when you forget, which you will, you do not start over, you return. Because you are not lost, you are on the spiral, and every return is a rise. So now, dear soul, what happens next? You've walked through the gates of the unseen. You've felt the laws move through your thoughts, your memories, your breath. You've heard the voice behind silence, touched the edge of a reality deeper than form. But what now? Now you live, not as a seeker who is lost, but as a flame who remembers. Not chasing enlightenment as if it were somewhere else, far away, but realizing that the spark is already in you, already burning, already calling you home. The Hermetic teachings were never about escaping the world. They were about transforming your place within it, becoming so in tune with the all that your daily life becomes sacred, not in grand rituals, but in small moments. How you speak, how you walk, how you feel the wind, how you listen when someone speaks, how you forgive, how you begin again. This is the quiet magic, the holy ordinariness of presence, the kind of mastery that does not need attention, only intention. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this: you don't need to remember every law, every term, every teaching. Because when you live in awareness, the laws live in you. They move through your intuition, your creativity, your stillness, your clarity. You become a channel, not of knowledge alone, but of living wisdom. You are not here to get it perfect. You are here to remember, to return, to rise. And when you forget, and you will, that forgetting is not failure. It is part of the spiral, part of the breath, part of the journey. So breathe again, walk forward again, trust again. You do not need to force your awakening. You only need to open, not to do more, but to be here more, to soften, to notice, to respond. And if ever you wonder, am I on the right path? Look not at where you stand, but at how you walk. Are you walking with presence, with sincerity, with reverence? Then you are already home. Because home is not a destination, it is a vibration, a remembrance, a sacred alignment between your inner world and the laws of the all. And so this is not the end, this is the continuation of you, of your remembering, of your becoming. Now go, not to escape life, but to meet it fully, to live your truth, to walk as the initiate, to carry the light, not in your hands, but in your eyes. And wherever you look, let that light awaken the world.